The stars above Earth were calm, quiet, and almost boring. Yet deep under the frozen lands of Antarctica, something was alive, something that had been hidden for decades, and no alien eye had ever seen it. The humans called it the Project Shadow Gate. Most people on Earth didn't even know it existed. Only a few in the highest command and those who worked in silence inside the buried shipyards knew the truth. Humanity had been pretending, hiding their power, showing weakness to the galaxy, while in secret they were building something the universe had never seen before. Across the galaxy, powerful alien empires often spoke of Earth as nothing more than a backwater world. They laughed at the human ships that appeared small and old. They sneered at Earth's silence in the galactic stage. Some thought humans were timid. Some thought they were afraid. But the humans had a reason. They were waiting. They were watching. They were preparing. And in their silence was danger. An alien council meeting on the planet Zorath was held in a chamber made of crystal and steel. Alien lords with glowing eyes and armored scales argued about the strange signals coming from the Sol system. One commander slammed his fist on the table, his voice cold. The humans have been too quiet, too careful. I believe they are hiding something. Another laughed with sharp teeth glinting. In the light, they are weak. They are prey. Earth is nothing but a whisper in the dark. The commander narrowed his eyes and replied, "And sometimes it is the quiet ones you should fear most." Meanwhile, far below Antarctica's ice, workers in black uniforms moved through endless halls lit by pale blue lights. The halls shook as enormous machines welded together massive black hulls, each one larger than the tallest cities on Earth. They looked less like ships and more like floating fortresses. Each plate of armor was layered with strange material that seemed to drink the light around it. The sound of hammers and machines echoed like the beating of war drums. Deep in that frozen ground, an army was being forged. A young engineer named Alex walked across the platform with grease on his face. His heart raced as he looked up at the half-complete dreadnought above him. He had dreamed of seeing such a ship, but to stand under its shadow was terrifying. His friend Maya, another engineer, whispered beside him, "Do you ever wonder if the galaxy knows what we're building down here?" Alex shook his head slowly. If they knew, they would never sleep again. Above Earth, in the silence of space, satellites turned their eyes outward, pretending to be harmless machines. But they were not ordinary satellites. Each one was a hidden watchtower, feeding data back into the Shadowgate project. They tracked alien scouts, they monitored fleets, and they sent everything to the hidden base. The humans knew more about the galaxy than the galaxy ever knew about them. The Shadowgate itself was the heart of it all, a massive ring buried inside a cavern of black stone, surrounded by rivers of cables and towers of glowing energy. It pulsed faintly as if it was breathing. It was not just a weapon, it was a door. And when it opened, the universe would tremble. On the other side of the galaxy, rumors spread like wildfire. Alien traders whispered in shadowed ports. Earth has something dark. Some laughed, some dismissed it, but there were a few who did not laugh. They remembered how humanity had survived wars on their own world, how they had risen from nothing, how they had sent machines across the void of space with determination and patience. These aliens feared the silence, for silence was never empty in the quiet halls of the United Earth Defense Command. Generals studied maps of the stars, their faces stern, their voices heavy with secrets. One general pointed at a glowing point on the map. "The Council of Zorath is sending scouts near Jupiter." Another general replied, "Let them look. They will see nothing, and by the time they understand, it will already be too late." The room fell silent, for everyone knew the truth. The time of waiting was ending. Night after night, the skies above Earth remained calm. The world carried on with its daily life, ordinary humans never suspecting what was hidden beneath their feet. But in the shadows, the watchers moved. Engineers worked, admirals planned, and the gate pulsed quietly, waiting for the moment to open. Far away, inside a dark war chamber, the alien commander who had warned his council stared at the stars. His claws tapped against the armrest of his throne, and he muttered softly, The humans are not weak, they are watching us as we speak. His words were swallowed by the cold silence, yet somewhere, deep under ice and stone, a human voice gave a similar warning. The galaxy thinks we are sleeping, but soon they will see we are only waiting. And as the shadow gate breathed once more, a pulse spread through the void, faint and invisible, reaching out like a whisper. And for the first time, the galaxy shivered without knowing why. It was the calm before the storm, the quiet breath before the roar. Humanity was about to step from the shadows, and the watchers knew their waiting was almost over. The pulse that rippled across space was faint, almost like a breath, but alien sensors caught it, and alarms echoed through the deep chambers of the Council of Zorath. The galaxy's rulers gathered in their crystal halls, their voices sharp, their claws tapping against the tables. One alien lord hissed, "The humans are playing with powers they do not understand." Another laughed, his fangs glinting. "They are still fragile. Their fleets are small, their colonies weak. They are nothing but insects pretending to roar." But an old admiral, his scales gray and his eyes hard as stone, leaned forward, his voice low. "You fools, do you not see? This silence was not fear. It was preparation. If the humans have truly built what I think they have, then the galaxy will never be the same again." On Earth, beneath Antarctica, the shadow gate pulsed brighter. The cavern walls trembled as if the ice itself feared what was waking. Engineers hurried along glowing catwalks, and the air hummed with energy. Massive dreadnoughts lay sleeping in their docks, black armored hulls covered with plates that seemed to drink the light, each one bristling with hidden weapons, their engines quiet but ready to roar. Alex, the young engineer, wiped sweat from his brow as he watched one of the ships awaken. The hum of its reactor filled the air like a heartbeat. Beside him, Maya whispered, "It feels alive." Alex nodded slowly. "Because it is. This is not just a ship. This is a warning." Far away in the void near Jupiter, alien scouts slipped through the shadows, their ships small and swift, their scanners reaching, searching for the truth. One scout captain leaned forward, his skin pale blue under the flickering lights. "There, a surge of power. It comes from Earth's third planet." Another crew member shook his head. "No, impossible. Humans cannot produce such levels." But the captain's eyes narrowed. "Send the data back to the council. Something is stirring." Back at the council chambers, the warning came too late. The aliens laughed, mocking the idea that humans could hide anything powerful. But in the silence of their laughter, fear began to spread. Whispers in the back. Halls grew louder. Traders spoke of shadows swallowing fleets. Smugglers claimed they saw black warships drift through the void like ghosts, and one ancient seer muttered to her people, "The humans have touched the dark matter, and now the stars will burn." Inside Earth's command center, the generals stood before vast screens, maps of the galaxy glowing with red and green dots. One general slammed his fist against the table. "The aliens are sending more scouts. They think we are weak." Another general, calm and steady, replied, "Then let them think so. The longer they believe the lie, the stronger we grow." Their leader, an old man with sharp eyes, stood and spoke. "The gate will soon be ready. When it opens, the galaxy must know the age of silence is over." The Shadowgate roared louder, streams of energy curling around its massive frame. Engineers fell back in awe as the great ring began to spin, its surface alive with dark blue lightning. The ground trembled as if the Earth itself was afraid. And then, for a single second, the space above Antarctica tore open, a ripple in the sky that vanished as quickly as it appeared. Maya gasped, "It's real. The gate is real." Alex whispered back, his voice trembling, "We just showed the galaxy our shadow. But soon, we will show them the storm." Meanwhile, in a forgotten mining station on the edge of the Orion Rift, alien mercenaries gathered in secret, passing drinks and whispers. One mercenary leaned forward, his face scarred. "I heard the humans built a gate that can tear holes in space." Another spat on the floor. "Lies. Propaganda. Humans are still crawling out of their cradle." But a third, older and wiser, shook his head. "No, I have fought them. I have seen their fire. Do not mistake silence for weakness. Humans wait, and when they strike to kill." The room fell silent, because deep inside, everyone feared the same truth. In the dark of space, the alien scouts near Jupiter tried to escape, but something was watching them. A shadow moved where no light should move. One scout cried out, "Contact! Contact! Something is following us!" Before the transmission cut into static, the council received only silence, and in that silence was fear. Back on Earth, the dreadnoughts awakened one by one, their engines humming with low thunder, their armor gleaming with unnatural darkness. Each one was larger than a city, built, not for defense but for dominance, their cannons hidden beneath black plating, waiting to unleash fire the galaxy had never seen. The admiral in charge of the fleet walked slowly across the dock, his hands behind his back, his voice calm but heavy. "For too long they mocked us. For too long they thought us weak. Now, the gate will open, and when it does, the galaxy will remember humanity." The shadow gate pulsed again, brighter, stronger, its power stretching across the stars. Alien sensors screamed alarms, empires argued, councils panicked, and one truth spread across the galaxy like wildfire. Earth was not what they believed. Earth had never been weak. It had only been waiting, and now the silence was ending. The Watchers had seen enough. Soon the shadows would open wide, and the secret fleet of humanity would step through, their dark hulls carrying the weight of Earth's vengeance. The galaxy trembled, but Earth only whispered, "We are ready." The shadow gate pulsed like a living heart, deep beneath the frozen lands of Antarctica, each beat sending waves of power through the cavern. The great ring spun slowly, its surface crackling with arcs of dark blue lightning. Engineers stood frozen in awe, their voices hushed. The air shook, the ice above groaned, and the world above never knew that the sky was about to be torn open. Alex stood on the metal walkway, his hands trembling as he gripped the railing. Maya beside him stared with wide eyes. "It's beginning," she whispered. Alex nodded, his chest tight. "The gate is waking." Around them alarms blared softly, but no one ran, no one screamed. They all watched, they all waited, for this was the moment they had been building toward their entire lives. The ring blazed brighter, and then the air split, a soundless roar, ripping through space and time. Above Antarctica's frozen mountains, the sky itself fractured, a black wound opening against the stars. Lightning coiled outward, streaks of red and blue across the heavens. The shadow gate had opened. From the darkness beyond, a massive shape emerged, a warship larger than any alien vessel ever built. Its black armor drank the starlight, its sharp angles glowed faintly with red lines that pulsed like veins. It was a dreadnought, the first of Earth's secret fleet. It drifted out of the shadow with silent menace, its cannons hidden beneath armored plates, its engines burning with ghostly light. The people below fell silent. No words could describe it. Inside the United Earth Defense Command, screens lit up with the image of the warship breaking through. Generals leaned forward, their faces pale. One whispered, "It's awake." Another said, "The galaxy will see this, and they will tremble." The commander, an old man with a scar down his face, only nodded slowly. "Good. It is time the silence ends." But Earth was not the only one watching far away. Alien probes picked up the tremor, their sensors screaming as the rift appeared. Data streamed back to the Council of Zorath. Alien leaders crowded around glowing maps, their eyes wide with horror. One shouted, "Impossible, they have opened a gate." Another hissed, "What is that ship? It looks like a fortress, not a vessel." The old admiral who had warned them before leaned back, his eyes grim. "It is too late. The humans have stepped from the shadows." The dreadnought moved across the sky, its hull shimmering with strange energy, and then more shapes followed, smaller but no less terrifying. Cruisers, destroyers, carriers, each one covered in the same black armor, each one burning with hidden power. The fleet poured out like a tide of shadows. The stars themselves seemed dimmer as they emerged. Maya gripped Alex's arm, her voice shaking. "They're beautiful." Alex swallowed hard. "They're monsters." But in his heart he felt pride, for this was not just steel and fire. This was humanity's defiance, their answer to centuries of mockery, their roar into the silent void. The alien scouts near Jupiter saw it too, their screens flooded with static as the energy waves struck them. One pilot screamed, They're opening. A portal, ships are coming through, enormous ships, another shouted. We must run, warn the fleet. But before they could escape, the darkness moved. Something unseen slid across their scanners. A human cruiser decloaked behind them, weapons charged, and in seconds the alien scouts were gone, silenced forever. News spread like fire across the galaxy. Traders whispered in fear. Mercenaries refused contracts near Sol. Smugglers swore they saw black ships drifting through wormholes that should not exist. Panic spread through the halls of power. Empires began to argue. Some wanted to strike Earth now. Others said to wait. But no one could deny the truth anymore. Humanity had unveiled a weapon greater than anything seen before. Back in Earth's control center, the commander watched as the fleet drifted into formation. Dreadnoughts at the center, cruisers on the flanks, carriers glowing with faint blue shields. It was a wall of shadows. Silent, perfect, terrifying. The commander's voice cut through the silence. Transmit. A signal pulsed outward, encoded in a dozen alien languages, simple, cold, and unshakable. We have been silent long enough. The words reached alien worlds, playing across screens in markets, in palaces, in warships. Every species that had once mocked Earth now stared at the message in silence. The humans were not weak. The humans were not timid. They had been hiding their strength, and now the galaxy trembled. The first dreadnought turned, its engines igniting fully, flames of dark energy spilling out as it moved with impossible grace for its size. It aimed toward the stars, its hull glowing faint red as though the void itself feared it. Alex felt tears in his eyes as he whispered, "We just changed history." Maya squeezed his hand. "No, Alex, we just started it." The shadow gate spun faster, arcs of lightning tearing through the cavern. More ships poured through, endless, relentless. The humans had built not a fleet, but an armada, enough to challenge the greatest powers in the galaxy above the frozen mountains of Earth. The sky burned with fire and shadows. The age of silence was over, and as the dreadnoughts vanished into the void, their black hulls swallowing starlight, the galaxy realized the truth too late. The Shadow Gate was not just Earth's weapon, it was Earth's promise. A promise that no insult would be forgotten, no threat would go unanswered, and no empire would ever again laugh at the silence of humanity. The gate had opened, and Earth's secret fleet had been unleashed. Across the galaxy, chaos spread like wildfire. The Shadow Gate had opened, Earth's black warships had stepped into the stars, and every alien world that once mocked humanity now felt the weight of fear pressing on their chests. In the crystal halls of the Council of Zorath, panic reigned. Alien lords shouted over each other, their voices sharp and angry. "They have unleashed a fleet," one cried, slamming his clawed hand on the table. Another hissed, "We should strike now, crush them before they grow stronger." But the old admiral, the one who had warned them from the beginning, only stared at the star maps glowing before him, his voice cold and steady. "You do not crush a storm by shouting at the sky. The humans have built something beyond what we understand. Attacking them without thought will only bring our ruin." In the shadowed markets of the Outer Rim, whispers filled the air. Traders with twitching tails and glowing eyes exchanged fearful words. "I saw them," one hissed. "Their hulls drink the light, like shadows alive." Another spat bitterly. "Impossible. Humans are scavengers. They cannot build such monsters." But the first trader shook his head violently. "I swear it, one dreadnought fired once and 3 cruisers were torn apart like paper. I will never go near Sol again." The crowd grew silent, for none could laugh anymore. The silence of humanity had ended. Far away in the colonies of the Zaith Dominion, rulers gathered in grand towers of glass. They debated fiercely, some calling for war, some for retreat. A young prince slammed his staff against the floor, his voice trembling with fear. "Do you not understand? If they can build gates, then no world is safe. They could appear above our skies tomorrow." His elders hissed at him, but their eyes betrayed the truth. They too feared it. Meanwhile, humanity's secret fleet stretched their wings. Dreadnoughts slipped silently through the void, their black plating bending light, cloaking them like ghosts. They did not move openly. They did not roar with fire. They moved with patience like hunters. Every alien probe that dared come near vanished, Every scout sent toward Sol was erased. Reports came back half-finished, filled with static, filled with fear. In Earth's command center, the general studied incoming transmissions from alien worlds, voices of anger, voices of threats, voices of desperate bargaining. One general smirked. "Now they talk to us as equals after centuries of silence," another replied. "No, they talk to us as prey speaks to a predator." The commander stood tall, his scarred face grim. "They do not yet know the full truth. Let them fear the whispers. Let them imagine what we have. The unknown will break them faster than our cannons." Maya and Alex watched from the observation platform as more ships rose through the shadow gate. Carriers, destroyers, silent giants that filled the sky above Antarctica. Alex whispered, "Every empire thinks they are strong, but this is something else." Maya's eyes glimmered in the dim light. "The galaxy doesn't understand what patience creates. Humans waited, humans prepared, and now we will never be slaves to their laughter again." In the back rooms of alien palaces, rulers argued. Some prepared fleets to test Earth's strength. Others recalled armies in fear. Mercenaries refused to take contracts that brought them anywhere near human space. Even pirates began to vanish from the shipping lanes around Sol. The galaxy had always been a place of power and intimidation. Yet for the first time in memory, no one dared to provoke the humans. But there were always fools. A coalition of 3 alien empires gathered their fleets, convinced humanity's power was only illusion. Their admirals barked orders. Their ships massed near the outer edges of the Sol system. Over 1,000 vessels gathered in the darkness. They thought they could trap the humans, crush them before the secret fleet grew, but their arrogance was blind. Deep inside Earth's Shadow Gate control room, alarms whispered softly. Signals of the incoming armada appeared on the screens. The generals remained calm. The commander's eyes narrowed as he watched the glowing red dots. "They think us prey one last time," he said quietly, "but soon the lesson will be written in their blood." In the alien fleet, confidence was high. Captains sneered. Soldiers laughed. One boasted, "We will return with their dreadnoughts as trophies." But in the shadows of space, unseen eyes watched them. Humanity's dreadnoughts already moved like predators in the night, cloaked in darkness, engines silent, their cannons primed. Then it happened. The first alien cruiser blinked, alarm screaming, and in a flash of red light it was gone, torn apart in silence. The fleet panicked, scanning desperately, but saw nothing. Another ship fell, then another. The admiral shouted orders, "Form up, fire in all directions." But the void remained empty. The hunters moved unseen. Across the galaxy, transmissions from that battle reached alien worlds, filled with broken screams and static. No images, no clear proof, only terror. The survivors fled, and in their panic, they carried the tale. Earth had unleashed shadows that could kill entire fleets without being seen. The Council of Zorath sat in silence when they received the reports. The old admiral finally spoke, his voice heavy with the weight of prophecy. "The humans are not merely building ships, they are building fear, and fear will rule the galaxy longer than fire ever could." The others lowered their heads, for the truth was undeniable. Humanity had stepped from the shadows and the galaxy would never laugh again. And so, in every star system, panic spread, but Earth remained silent, their warships drifting like ghosts, their voices hidden, their intentions unknown. Yet one truth settled deep in the hearts of every alien ruler. The humans had waited, and now the shadows belonged to them, and the galaxy trembled in their silence. The alien coalition had gathered, their greatest armada, ships stretching like a sea of fire across the stars. More than 1,000 vessels drifted near the edge of Sol, their cannons glowing, their commanders confident. The galaxy held its breath. This was to be the first true test of Earth's secret fleet, and most believed the humans would finally be crushed. In the command deck of the lead alien dread carrier, Admiral Varzul stood tall, his silver scales gleaming beneath the cold lights. His voice echoed across the chamber. "Humans are nothing but noisy children with stolen toys. Today we end their games," his officers roared in agreement. Laughter filled the air. They were certain that victory was already theirs. But far beneath the frozen lands of Earth, the shadow gate pulsed once more. The great ring spun. Thunder rolled through the cavern, and then the sky above Antarctica split open. Black ships slipped through the rift one after another, silent, menacing, their armor drinking the starlight. Leading them was a dreadnought larger than any seen before, its hull covered in runes of glowing red, its engines whispering like a storm caged in metal. Inside Earth's command center, the generals watched calmly as the alien fleet advanced. The commander's scarred face was unreadable, his voice cold. "They outnumber us 20-1. A younger officer swallowed nervously. "Sir, should we delay? Should we recall the fleet?" But the commander shook his head slowly. "No, this is the moment. We do not run from storms, we become the storm." The dreadnoughts moved into formation, their black hulls stretching across the void like a wall of shadows. Cruisers and destroyers fanned out, carriers drifted silently behind. For a heartbeat the galaxy held still, two great forces facing one another in the endless dark. Then the alien admiral sneered and gave the order, "Fire!" Thousands of beams, missiles, and plasma storms tore through the void. The sky lit up in fire. For a moment it seemed the humans would be erased, but the beams never touched. The human dreadnoughts shimmered, their black hulls bending light and energy. Weapons passed through empty shadows. The alien commanders shouted in confusion, "Their hulls are phasing! Impossible! Impossible!" Then the shadows struck back. The lead human dreadnought opened its hidden cannon. A single beam of red light, thin and sharp, cut across the battlefield. One alien battleship, massive and proud, was sliced in half like paper. Silence followed. For a moment, then the battlefield erupted in chaos. Human cruisers decloaked in the middle of the alien formation, their guns blazing. Destroyers darted through the chaos like predators, their torpedoes exploding into enemy carriers. Alien screams filled the comms. "They're inside our lines. They're everywhere." Admiral Varzul's eyes widened. "Hold the formation. Crush them." But already dozens of his ships were burning. Maya and Alex watched from the control deck below Antarctica, their faces pale as they saw the live feeds. "It's a massacre," Maya whispered. Alex shook his head. "No, it's a lesson. The galaxy thought we were prey. Now they will see who the predators are." The alien fleet tried to regroup, their commanders shouting orders, but the humans moved like shadows. Dreadnoughts blinked in and out of cloak, unleashing devastating volleys before vanishing again. Smaller alien ships collided in panic. The void was filled with wreckage. Admiral Varzul roared in fury. "Do not retreat, fight to the last." But his voice was drowned out by the dying screams of his captains. Inside the lead human dreadnought, the admiral stood on the bridge, calm as stone, his voice low and steady. "Target their carriers. Break their spine." Cannons unleashed, beams of searing light. One alien carrier erupted in flames, its hangars spilling shattered fighters into the void. Another followed, then another. In less than an hour, the coalition's strength crumbled. Across the galaxy, transmissions of the battle leaked. Alien worlds watched in horror as the proud coalition was torn apart. Some transmissions showed only shadows moving, flashes of light, and then silence. Others carried screams cut short as fleets were swallowed whole. No one could deny the truth anymore. Humanity was not weak. Humanity was death moving in silence. The alien survivors broke. Panic spread through their ranks. Ships scattered, retreating in every direction. Discipline shattered. Admiral Varzul screamed in rage as his officers begged him to flee. "We will not run from cattle," he roared. But then the shadow fell across his flagship. The human dreadnought loomed like a mountain in the dark. Its cannons glowed red, and in a single strike his ship was torn apart. The admiral's last words drowned in fire. When the battle ended, the void was littered with wreckage. Thousands of alien ships gone. Only a handful escaped to carry the tale, and that tale would spread like a storm across the galaxy. The humans had not just won. They had destroyed an armada that should have been unstoppable. In Earth's command center, silence held for a long moment. Then the commander spoke softly. "Transmit one message to the galaxy." The officer nodded, and across the stars, in every language known, The words burned into screens. Do not mistake silence for weakness. On alien worlds, kings and councils trembled. Children cried at the sight of the shadowed fleet. Mercenaries refused to fight against humans. Pirates vanished from Sol, and the galaxy shivered under the weight of a truth it could not deny. Earth had unleashed its secret fleet, and no empire could stand against it. Maya leaned against Alex, her voice quiet. It's over. Alex shook his head, his eyes still locked on the burning battlefield. No, it's just begun. The galaxy thought tonight was their attack, but history will call it the beginning of our reign. And as the human dreadnoughts drifted silently back into the shadows, their hulls glowing faint with crimson veins, the galaxy realized it was not watching an army. It was watching the rise of a new order. Humanity had spoken, and the stars would never forget it. The galaxy did not sleep after the massacre at Sol's Edge. The wreckage of the alien coalition still floated in silence, drifting tombs of fire and twisted steel. Every world that once laughed at Earth now spoke the same word in whispers. Dreadnoughts, they had seen shadows slice through fleets. They had heard the screams of dying admirals, but it was not the destruction alone that filled them with terror. It was the weapon behind it. Humanity had revealed something forbidden, something no empire had mastered: dark matter technology. In the grand halls of the Council of Zorath, silence hung heavier than iron. Alien lords who once mocked humanity now stared at the reports before them. Broken transmissions filled with static, screams cut short, and flashes of ships swallowed by shadows. One lord hissed, "It is a trick, some illusion. No one controls dark matter." But the old admiral, his voice rough, slammed his claw on the table. "You fools, I told you they were not weak. The humans have bent the void itself to their will. If they have dark matter weapons, then even your fleets mean nothing." Across the stars, smuggler dens and pirate coves buzzed with rumors. "I saw them," one smuggler swore, his trembling hands spilling drink across the table. "They tore open space itself. Their ships blinked from shadow to shadow. One moment they were gone, the next my brother's freighter was dust." Mercenaries shook their heads, refusing contracts near Sol. Trade routes emptied. Fear traveled faster than ships. But the greatest shock came days later, when a new signal spread across the galaxy. Not a scream, not a warning, but a cold transmission from Earth itself. "The Shadow Gate is open," the message said, "and it is not the only one." The words repeated in every alien tongue, carved into every channel unstoppable. The galaxy froze in fear, for if there was more than one gate, then Earth could appear anywhere, at any time. Inside Earth's command center, the general stood before glowing maps of the galaxy, dozens of hidden points flashing red. Maya and Alex stared in disbelief. "There's more?" Alex whispered. The commander turned toward them, his scarred face hard. "Yes, we built gates in secret across the stars, hidden in forgotten systems, buried in dead worlds, cloaked in nebulae. The galaxy thought we were silent because we were weak. No, we were silent because we were everywhere." The Shadow Fleet moved unseen, dreadnoughts slipping through hidden gates, carriers emerging above empty systems, cruisers patrolling dark nebulae. Alien scouts tried to track them, but every report ended in static. Entire squadrons vanished without a trace. Empires realized too late they were surrounded. No planet could feel safe, for humanity could open the sky at will. In the throne chamber of the Zaith Dominion, the young prince who once warned his people now stood tall before his elders. "Do you see now?" he cried, his voice shaking with both fear and fury. "They do not need to march through borders. They will appear inside our skies. They will appear above our cities. No wall will hold them back. Humanity holds the keys to every star." The old rulers shifted uneasily, for once they had no reply. Meanwhile, on a small mining colony near the Orion Rift, workers looked up and screamed as the air tore apart. A massive ring of shadow opened in the sky. From it emerged a single human cruiser, silent and black, its cannons glowing faint red. It did not fire. It only drifted, watching. Then with a flash of light it vanished, but the message was clear. Nowhere was safe. Maya walked the halls of the underground shipyard, her heart heavy. "Alex, Do you ever wonder if we've gone too far? She asked softly. Alex looked at her, his face pale in the glow of the machines. We had no choice. The galaxy laughed at us, threatened us. We had to show them what silence can build. But in his voice there was doubt, a whisper of fear not for aliens, but for what humanity had become. In the hidden chambers of Earth's Admiralty, the commander stood before his officers, his voice steady. We have revealed the first gate, the first fleet, but the galaxy does not yet know the scale. Let them tremble, let them argue. By the time they understand, the new order will already be written. The officers bowed their heads, but even among them unease flickered, for they all knew power like this came with a price. Alien empires tried to unite, calling for an emergency alliance. Fleets were ordered to patrol their skies. Fortresses raised on border worlds. But already fear had broken them. Captains deserted. Soldiers whispered of shadows that could appear at any moment. Rulers could not trust their allies. Each feared the other would surrender first. Humanity had not just built ships, they had built terror, and terror was spreading faster than fire. In the dark beyond Neptune, the first dreadnought drifted silently, its red veins glowing faintly in the void. Its captain looked upon the stars and whispered, "We are the storm they never saw coming." And across the galaxy, every alien who looked at the night sky wondered if tonight the gate would open above their world. The galaxy trembled not because of the battle they had seen, but because of the battles they could not see. Battles already lost before they began. Earth had revealed more than a fleet, more than a weapon. They had revealed a truth that could not be undone. Humanity could strike anywhere, anytime, and nothing in the galaxy could stop them. And so the whispers grew, a prophecy now carried on every world. The shadows belong to the humans, it said, and the stars themselves seemed dimmer, as if they too feared the truth. The age of silence had ended and the reign of shadows had begun. The galaxy had not known peace since the Shadow Gate opened. Every empire held its breath, waiting for the storm to strike again. But when it came, it did not come in whispers or hidden ambushes. It came as thunder. The largest fleet ever assembled by alien hands gathered near the Orion Rift. Billions of beings across the stars tuned in to watch the Great Armada. Screens across markets, palaces and war camps lit up with images of warships stretching into the void, banners of countless empires flying together. For the first time in centuries, the galaxy stood united, not for power, not for conquest, but for survival. At the heart of the fleet floated the colossal flagships of the Zaith Dominion, the Council of Zorath, and the Korthan Alliance. Thousands of carriers, cruisers, and dread ships surrounded them, their hulls glowing with firepower, their commanders confident. One alien admiral snarled across the open channel, his scaled face twisted with pride. "Let the humans come, we will end them here. The Orion Rift will be their grave." His words spread across the galaxy, fueling hope in those who still wished to believe humanity could be stopped. But in the darkness of deep space, behind the rift's glowing nebulae, humanity was already moving. The Shadow Fleet emerged from a hidden gate, their dreadnoughts sliding silently into the void, black armor absorbing the light, carriers drifting like mountains, destroyers scattered like wolves. And then the first supercarrier appeared, a beast so vast it blotted out stars, its hull covered in living streams of dark matter energy, its bays filled with hundreds of smaller ships waiting like arrows in a drawn bow. Inside the United Earth command ship, the admiral stood before the viewing glass, his face stern, his voice calm. "Today the galaxy will learn the truth. They thought us weak, they thought us silent, but we are the storm." His officers nodded, their hands steady as they prepared weapons, no fear in their eyes, only resolve. Maya and Alex watched from the civilian gallery aboard the carrier, their breaths caught as they looked out into the rift. Endless alien ships lit up like fireflies. "It's an ocean," Maya whispered, her voice trembling. "How can we stand against so many?" Alex shook his head slowly, eyes locked on the black dreadnoughts ahead. "Because they don't know what we carry inside these shadows." The first volley came from the aliens, beams of light, Storms of missiles, plasma fire turning the void into a burning storm. Entire sections of space glowed white as the fleet unleashed its fury. Alien worlds cheered across the galaxy, believing they had caught the humans off guard, believing this time the shadows would break. But then the fire cleared, and humanity's fleet remained. Shields rippled like dark waves, bending light and energy away, and in the silence that followed, the humans struck. Dreadnought cannons lit the void with crimson beams, slicing through the enemy lines like blades of fire. Entire carriers split in half, their wreckage tumbling silently. Human destroyers darted forward, unleashing torpedoes that exploded with dark matter shockwaves. Entire formations of alien ships vanished in the blasts, and then the supercarriers opened their bays, unleashing swarms of smaller fighters, black-winged machines with glowing red eyes that moved like a storm of hornets, tearing through the alien lines. Admiral Varric of the Corthan Alliance shouted desperately, "Hold the formation, crush their carriers!" But it was no use. The rift became a graveyard. Alien fleets crumbled as human shadows tore through them. Every tactic, every strategy the galaxy had built for centuries fell apart against Earth's technology. Their dark matter weapons rewrote the laws of war. On alien worlds, civilians watched in horror as the live feeds showed their proud fleets burning. Mothers clutched their children. Rulers lowered their heads in despair. The prophecy whispered in every port came true before their eyes. The shadows belonged to the humans inside the human flagship. The admiral gave his next command, his voice cold and steady. "Release the Leviathans." The deck shuddered as enormous hangar doors opened. From the belly of the carriers emerged ships larger than cities, mobile fortresses armed with cannons. The size of mountains, they drifted slowly forward, glowing veins of red across their armor. The alien admirals gasped as sensors screamed warnings. What are those?" But the answer came in fire. A single blast from a Leviathan cannon erased dozens of ships at once. Maya gripped Alex's hand tightly, tears in her eyes. "This isn't war, it's slaughter." Alex's jaw clenched. "They forced this. They mocked us. They threatened us. Now they see the cost of silence." But even he could not look away from the devastation. Hours passed, but the battle was decided within minutes. The rift burned with wreckage. Alien fleets scattered. Commanders abandoned their ships. Discipline shattered. The once proud armada broke like glass under a hammer. Some tried to flee, through warp tunnels only to find human dreadnoughts waiting. Cloaked and patient, the hunt was merciless. When the last alien flagship fell, torn apart by a storm of fighters, the galaxy went silent. The transmission feeds ended in static. Billions sat in stunned silence across their worlds. No one cheered. No one laughed. All that remained was fear. In the council chambers of the surviving empires, rulers sat with pale faces, their voices hushed. "We cannot win," one whispered. "They can strike anywhere, anytime, and nothing we build will stand against them." Another finally said what none wanted to admit. "Then we must kneel or we will burn." Back aboard the human flagship, the admiral stood with his hands clasped behind his back, his gaze fixed on the burning rift. The galaxy thought this was their stand, their final hope. But this was never their battle. He said softly, "This was our demonstration." The shadow fleet drifted silently through the wreckage, their black hulls gleaming faintly, and the stars seemed to dim as they passed. The Orion Rift was no longer a battlefield. It was a warning carved into the void, a message written in fire and steel. Humanity had risen, humanity had conquered, and the galaxy now belonged to them. And as Maya whispered to Alex in the silence of the observation deck, her voice trembling but filled with awe, "This is not the end." Alex nodded slowly, his eyes still locked on the fleet. "No, this is the beginning of the age of humanity." The Orion Rift was quiet at last. The wreckage of thousands of alien ships drifted like shattered bones across the void. Broken banners of once mighty empires floated aimlessly. Glowing embers from ruined flagships burned like fading stars. The greatest armada the galaxy had ever assembled lay dead, and in the silence that followed, only the shadows of humanity's fleet remained, their black hulls drifting slowly, unchallenged, unstoppable, across the galaxy. Rulers stared at their screens in silence, their faces pale with disbelief. Children who had grown up hearing tales of alien power now watched their parents tremble. Traders whispered in the markets, "It is over. The humans have won." Even pirates, once fearless, refused to sail near Sol. The fear of shadows had become stronger than any chain. In the crystal halls of the Council of Zorath, the Lord sat defeated, their arguments gone, their voices weak. One finally muttered, "If they can appear anywhere, then our fleets mean nothing. Our worlds are already in their hands." Another shivered, his glowing eyes dim. "If they demand surrender, then surrender we must, or we will burn like the rift." The old admiral who had warned them leaned forward, his voice carrying the weight of prophecy. "You do not bargain with storms, you endure them. The humans are no longer one world among many. They are the rulers of all." Meanwhile, on Earth, in the underground command center beneath Antarctica, the generals stood before glowing maps of the galaxy. Dozens of systems highlighted in red. The commander's scarred face showed no joy, only cold resolve. His voice echoed through the chamber. "The galaxy has seen our strength. The time for hiding is over. The new order begins now." Above Earth, the dreadnoughts floated like mountains in the sky, their black armor gleaming. Faintly, carriers drifted beside them. Leviathans hung like fortresses in the void. The Shadow Fleet stood ready not as defenders, but as enforcers, a symbol that humanity was no longer prey. They were predators, and the galaxy would bow. Maya and Alex stood together on the observation deck of the carrier, their faces pressed to the glass, staring at the endless ships. "It feels unreal," Maya whispered, her breath fogging the glass. "All those empires, all their armies, crushed." Alex nodded slowly, his voice low. "It's the end of their age and the beginning of ours." But in his eyes there was unease, for power so great came with a shadow of its own. Across alien worlds, messages from Earth spread, a single transmission repeated in every language. Calm, steady, undeniable. "Do not mistake silence for weakness. Earth stands and Earth rules. No threats, no boasts, only truth." The words spread faster than fleets, faster than fear, and in palaces and councils, rulers lowered their heads, for they knew resistance was over. In the Zaith Dominion, the young prince stood before his elders, his voice trembling. "Kneel or die. There is no other choice." His elders bowed reluctantly. The great towers of glass dimmed their lights in silent submission. In the Corthan Alliance, the High Commander struck his staff against the floor, his voice bitter. "From this day we live under the shadow of Earth." Even the mighty Council of Zorath sent a message of surrender. Their banners lowered, their fleets disarmed. Human dreadnoughts drifted above alien skies, silent but heavy. With presence they did not fire. They did not conquer by flame. Their shadows alone bent empires to their knees. On a mining world near the rift, children pointed at the black ships above them and whispered, "They are watching." Mothers hushed them. "Do not speak or they will hear." Fear itself had become humanity's weapon, and no world could resist it. Inside the human flagship, the admiral stood with his officers, his gaze steady on the stars, his voice calm. "We did not come for conquest. We came for order. The galaxy has drowned in arrogance and chaos. But that time ends now. Under the shadow of Earth there will be peace, but it will be peace on our terms." His words were carried in silence across the bridge. No one cheered, for they all understood the weight of the age they had begun. Alex turned to Maya, his voice quiet. "Do you think they'll ever forgive us?" Maya's eyes glimmered, with doubt. "Forgive, maybe, but forget. Never. Every shadow they see will remind them of tonight." Her words lingered in the silence, because they both knew she was right. The Shadow Fleet stretched across the stars, gates hidden and forgotten, systems flickered awake. Humanity could appear anywhere, anytime, and no one dared to resist. The galaxy had bowed, and with it a legend was born, a legend whispered in every corner of space. The shadows belonged to the humans. And so the new order began, not with cheers, not with celebration, but with silence. The silence of submission, the silence of fear, and the silence of a galaxy that finally understood the truth. Earth had been quiet not because it was weak, but because it was waiting. And now that it had spoken, the stars themselves bowed. Maya pressed her forehead against the glass one last time, her voice soft. The age of silence is over. Alex took her hand, his eyes locked on the dreadnoughts drifting across the void. No, he said firmly. The age of humanity has begun.